Hey there, Nick Endhem here. Your reaction on my last remix was incredible, so I'm gonna show you how I made it, and it's this one. So yes, how I started. I watched the performance at Coachella by Eric Prydz Anyma, and I was stunned by that track, the last one, so I want to recreate it. And at first I started by write it on my notes. Some of the elements started by drums, bass, synths, FX, all the presets. And also then I started by playing on my piano the melodies and also the chords. And then I write it on FL Studio. Of course, the a cappella is from Rockwell, Somebody's Watching Me. And now I'm going to show you the project. First, I divided the work by 3 projects. The first is the a cappella one, which is this one. There are many takes because I also put it on the new tone, which is like Melodyne, to change the pitch because it was 1 octave higher. Then I exported it, made it in mono, put it in this chain, started by this compressor, then the delay, and then also a little bit of distortion. And then EQ to not cut the bass, only the sub frequencies, and a bell on the middle part of the frequencies. Then also a bit of this one is actually in dynamic mode because there is a little problem in the mid section and also in high end. Then of course the Lufticus to go up in the 40Ks. There's a bit also a delay on the section. And also Endless Smile. I knew that effect was on the console, so it was live, but the delay not. So delayed and the Endless Smile to make that reverb. So this is the first take. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Which is very dry. So after the processing, I always feel like somebody's watching me. Okay, let's move on the drums. Of course, I put the reference above. This one actually was the Uber in the second drop. Also a riser. There's also a bit of effects in this project, actually, not only drums. Kick and snare. Here the kick. It's actually from a project mine, which is still unreleased. So I just took it from the project and put it in this one. A Simplon for a filtering part on the build-up. This one is the snare. Yeah, I just put a Q. Actually, this one is made of 3 layers. The first is for the punch. Then the second snare for the mid part, it's a glue to the first and third snare. The third snare is more for the high-end part of the snare. Bit of EQ to make the space of each layer, and then glue it in the bass snare with a clipper. The property is always in my channels. Because of the clipper and the EQ, put a little bit of EQ again, but this time for a boost because the property is a linear, is for subtraction. The dangerous one is more to boost certain frequencies. Then closing the chain with a proprietary for much more space, a bit of headroom. This bass net goes to the bass drums with all the heads and other elements. Hi-hat. This one is the right. And the head. Open hat. And another head. And this one is the crash. And this one is the bass section of the drums. Bass compressor, very fast attack, mid fast release, and threshold to 11 dB because my levels in the Mixdown are in between -10, -11. So the signal come to 11 dB, starts to compress. I make up to 3 dBs to regain what I lose with the compression. So this is also the groove if you wanna look more inside of it. Very simple. Okay, let's move on the synths part. I know you are here just for them because of Anyma. Here we are. The song started with the pad. Actually, it's not only one pad, it's 3 different pads. The first one. Yes, this one is from Solina, which is from Arturia collection. It started with the preset, but it's also a bit of change here in the upper section. Also, in fact, here I go up with the automation of the resonator gain and also the cutoff. Yes, it's the 18 channel, which is only with the filter that goes in the synth section. The second pad is this one from Diva. Very clean. Which again, it's from one of my projects, which is still unreleased. And then it's not actually the bass, it's more a horn, but works like a bass. The bass in the pad is processed like this, simple, which the filter, Pro-Q3, another Pro-Q3. It's more for the bass in dynamic mode to make the low end more solid. And then to glow up also another compressor. So that's the break part. So we have also the acapella. Then we start with the build up. It's a simple saw. The second oscillator is mute, so it doesn't matter. It's only one. The effects, there are hyperdimension, phaser, compressor, reverb, and EQ. With the cutoff and the build-up. This is the support of the bass from Serum. Processed like this, EQ, filter, gross width for the stutter, and a reverb. And here we are with the lead, which sounds like this. Very big. The bass is low, ADSR, one for the cutoff, layer with the noise and the direct out, delay, compressor, hyperdimension, reverb, and then the filter. For that pitch difference, this is the secret. So it's not made with LFO, but it's already on the piano roll. Also a bit of pitch bend. And here comes the arpeggiator, the second break, a big progression. This is actually from Sound Factory, which makes very good presets. Processing is EQ, filter, gross width, and reverb. This filter, cut off, and then the scene goes bigger and bigger. Now the bass. The bass is also from Serum. First oscillator is with 8 voices, the second one is only one. This is an ADSR, distortion, compression, reverb, and hyperdimension. There's only an inflator to push the bass. The sidechain and also another sidechain for the sub frequencies only. After this, I exported every stem in a final project where I can also mix and master. This is the final project with all the elements you have seen. For the bass, I cut each note to have a more solid bass. But this is the mixer part, which is more detailed. Again, the drums put every single track. Little bit of EQ, the kick, put more clipper, more EQ, kickstart, transition shaper on the snare, and then again all in the drum section. Here again, compression and clipping, these are the main parts for the drums. The horn bass in the breakdown, again for the low end, I boosted a little bit because it was lacking. And then the bass, saturation, EQ, a stutter, kickstart for the sub. And again, because when processing, the phase of the sound is off. So it's sure to make the subs in sidechain again. This is the lead, which is here for more high end, which is linked on the Synths Bass and the 4 chords with a bit of the exciter to a bit more big and pad with the exciter again. The box only to make it sure it was clean. I don't think it's still clean because it's a vocal from the 80s, so much work on the mid side. And the Uber is also Fattener for a bit loud. Then crash with delay compressor stands alone. I don't put the crash on the drum section with all the processing because it's too much for me. Okay, so this was the Mixdown, and this is the Masterchain. Here to check the side part, every sound inside is working, and also in the mid. Yeah, the mono maker to make sure under 100 Hz is mono. Inner phase EQ to cut 30 Hz on the low. Compressor for a more glue. Focusrite for a more detail on the frequencies. More punch on the kick, less muddiness, and then the mid a bit higher to have it more louder on tiny speakers. And cut again on the low and then in the high end to 20k Hz. Finally, there's a limiter, not too much limiting. So that's how I made it. I hope you like the process. I hope you like how I made this video, how I talked. Of course, make sure to comment and say what you think, and see you in the next one.